It's my pleasure to introduce Sophie, a leadership coach and product leader with over 15 years of experience building products and leading teams in the tech industry. She founded Rise and Play, which has since become the #1 network for conscious and all-female leaders in gaming. Currently, Sophie is working on an exciting new project at the intersection of coaching, games, and AI called Olivia. Now, let's welcome Sophie.
Hi everyone, welcome to this session, and I'm delighted to talk today about Olivia. So I'm Sophie Vaux, representing Olivia as the CEO and co-founder, and I'd like to cover a topic around coaching and especially dreaming about the future, AI and technology, reimagining work with the power of self-coaching. And before we dive into the topic, I wanted to share a personal anecdote that has stayed with me professionally before I became a coach. So I'm a leadership coach in creative industry, tech and gaming. And it happened when it was 29 years ago. I was building a game studio from scratch. After 3 years, we were 12 people that I have hired, and I was running that studio under a company. And I remember on that night, 2019, it was a Wednesday night, 9 p.m., late in the evening, and I received a call from my boss. I was like, why my boss is calling me late at night on a Wednesday night? It doesn't look good. And indeed, it was not a very nice call because my boss announced to me in this way, like, look, Sophie, we've looked at our strategy as a company and we're behind our numbers for this quarter and we need to correct this quickly. We are cutting costs drastically and your team is affected. We need half almost of your team to go away, and you give me the names on Friday. And by Monday, those people are gone. In this message delivered by my boss, he also made it clear to me that there's no negotiation. It's already been decided. Please be helpful by just executing the decision. There's no discussion to have. That call lasted 10 minutes, I think, just to deliver the news. That was one of my worst nights professionally that I've ever experienced in my career. I've been working 16 years. So that's telling a lot, because for a studio I built by myself from scratch, I was asked to cut the half and I was not involved in the decision, and I couldn't sleep that night. I wish I could call someone to talk it out, and there was just nobody. It was late. I spent a hell of a night thinking of all the scenarios. What if I name those people? What if I name that person? What if I name myself? What if I go? I was running all the scenarios during that night until the morning. And then I decided in the end, by exhaustion, but I just didn't want to continue to work for that company. I put my name on the list. I announced it to my teams of leaders. They followed. And a few months later, the studio was closed and everything that followed. But that was the best decision I could come up with that night. And why I'm sharing this story is unfortunately the story of many executives, that you will have sleepless night and horrible decisions to make and you have no one to talk to. And does it have to be this way, right? So that's what really fueled my drive to build better solution, becoming a coach, but also scalable solution for no professionals to be in that situation ever again. I don't wish that to anyone. The more I spent some research actually around the topic, I realized I was not the only one feeling this way. And for my coaching mostly entrepreneurs, founders, and executives, what we face in the situation and most of our roles and work is a lot of things going on in our mind. What kind of decision should we make? Feeling overwhelmed, choice, multiple choice, dilemma, dealing with a change, strategy, change of market, change of audience, those things, trying to execute the goals and all those things that, come in the mind. Here, I'm not even listing the questions that are, what am I having for dinner tonight? What am I buying? Where am I going on holiday? It is very overwhelming. And while most of us experience that, and even in higher roles with responsibility all the time, we faced with the same question and need, and like, who can we talk to when we are facing the situation? Could we talk to our partner? But not everyone has a partner. Or maybe the partner is just done hearing all our stories and complaints about work, right? Do we talk to a coach or a therapist? What if we don't have any of those resources? We talk to a friend who would be kind enough to listen to all our stories. It's very difficult to find someone to talk to about those things. You can't talk to it about it also to your team, right? The reality of a journey is we are faced quite being lonely in a journey where we are left with our questions, with our dilemma. It's one that, although we all experience that, we feel kind of same lonely in that journey. And that's where my coaching journey has started, where I started to coach executive in my industry and identified the same mental blockers, because I guess what? We are all the same at the fundamental level as humans. And I want to offer in this talk today and this workshop some perspective and maybe a way for you to step back on, if you find yourself in this situation, what can you do, right? So the mental blockers, I found coaching already a dozen over the past year. We are all sometimes blocked by our limiting beliefs. And some of the limiting beliefs, I'm naming a few here. Typical one, not feeling being enough, not enough. And this is something in coaching we work on, the self-perception, because not feeling enough starts from self-perception. And then when we correct it with reality, this is where we feel we are enough. A lot of our work is done there. We have also other themes around the confidence and fears. And when they are not there, then there's the limiting belief that we can't do it. I can't build a business. I can't build that company. I can't fulfill my dreams. I can't take that job. All of those also we work on in coaching. I don't know what I want. This is a typical one. This is also more as a result of lacking clarity. Or fears is a common theme as well, of not thinking, being capable physically of changing something in your life, feeling stuck with emotions and so on. So those are just common themes that I've seen repeating in coaching. And maybe you are recognizing yourself in some of those themes. Do you? And what do you do when you feel that way, right? What do you do? I want to offer here as a coach some tools that you can build for yourself and what is actually coaching about. Coaching is offering, first of all, through this process, when we work with a coach, clarity. And clarity is, imagine that you are trying to examine yourself and you are close to yourself, like in this tree. You don't see everything, right? So you're so close that you are missing things. And what we do in the coaching process is we help you see the forest of your own life, like the overview, not just the narrow view. And we zoom out. And with this clarity, then you can make different decisions. And how do we do that? We do that by using powerful questions. Coaching is a lot about questions. And again, coaching is a lot mistaken for advisory and mentorship, where it's a lot about sharing and telling. In this case, it's not. And what are the powerful questions? They all start with what, who, and when, and sometimes how many. And here, purposefully, I'm not listing the questions why and how, because why is activating by default a part of our brain that goes in defense mode. When we are being asked why, we are not open-minded and we are not in a discovery mindset. That's why that question is avoided in coaching. Or the how will you do this? And then the mind goes into trying to find solution, problem solving. But here, what we want to do in this phase of clarity, we want to explore. That's why we ask those open-ended questions with what, who, or when. And through this process, it's all about listening. And active listening, the difference of what is listening, is really listening what the person says, but how they say it, the body language, the tone, the emotion that comes with it. Not just what they say, but everything that around what they say. And also sometimes around what they don't say. Coaches use a lot of intuitive thinking to sense what could be blocking the person. And that's when we inquire. So that's part also of the coaching process, that it's not just asking random questions, it's asking the right question based on what we sense and observe. And like I said, there's very little telling in a good coaching, but it's mostly about asking. Because in this whole process, the most powerful realization are the ones we walk. So in coaching, we want you to figure things out by talking it out. We are not here to give you the answer, because once you realize them, that's how you grow. That's what we try to achieve in coaching, to make you realize by yourself. The second impact that we create with coaching after gaining clarity is structure. Going back to my analogy where, all those thoughts, we are all the time thinking about something, then in the coaching process, we help you reframe the perception in reality and structure it. What does that mean? We use a toolbox, and each coach has a different toolbox based on their experience, their style, the personality. I'm going to name a few here that you can look up and maybe apply on yourself when you do some journaling. There's a growth model, and the growth model, which is a known one from the School of Coaching, is basically working with your goals, checking what is the reality today that is between your goals and your situation today, looking at options, weighing the options, and see and weigh the one that you want to commit to. This is a very practical model to move from thoughts to action. And by the way, coaching is all about moving from thoughts, mental things to actions in real life. And other models that I've worked with as well, which is coactive, and it's also using a lot of different tools. But here the principle is that we are all equal. The coach is not superior or above a coachee. We are equal individuals and we are whole. And what we help create through this process is we help you find back your way to your whole self, because you are whole and you are perfect as is, but you are not when you are not honoring who you are, right? The coactive process is about finding the authentic self and being yourself, truly yourself. Other models are also helping to move from a limiting belief, and tools we have around that is, for example, life scripts. Life scripts, we are full of life scripts by culture, by education, by nationality. And what we do in this work is we try to examine those life scripts and are they still serving you today in where you are today? Because some of those life scripts could be not helpful if they were built during your childhood. Let's say a life script that you're incompetent, you're not enough. And we work on those to rewrite, reprogram new script so you can take action. That's the kind also of work we do. And visualization is another tool that I love to work with, which is working a lot with images, metaphor, and really visualizing, imagining future to start to make it real. What you can't see, you can't work on. So those are examples of tools, and there are many more, but those are very common and that you can look up if you like to try on yourself. And the whole point of this is by giving structure and reframing, naming things, is what we understand, we can change it. And that's the power of it, because once you identified, you know what to do. From clarity to structure, that's how we move forward. And the last part, which is what you get as a result, is serenity. Serenity from, again, that situation I shared that I felt awful that night. I was not serene, I was in distress. And we work for you to be in a serenity state most of the time. And that means being one with ourselves. The process of that, like everything that I shared until now in coaching, is really building the path from your mind to your heart, because as especially a Western society, we are so head-based. Everything goes through the mind. We interpret everything through the mind. Our thoughts, our fears are all mental. And when you find your way back to the heart, this is where you reconnect really to intuition, who you are, your values, and then you can act with congruence. Congruence is really acting according to your values. But if you don't know who you are, how can you act with congruence? And that's when you have sense of peace, when you're really in peace with inside. Like the inside is reflected on the outside. And some work that is difficult part of this process is also looking to shadows. And again, in a Western society where we want to be over positive and there are only positive emotions, we are suppressing emotions that an experience that should be part of the growth and the journey, that are fears, sadness, anger, grief. And we give space to those emotions so you can be whole again. And speaking out, also the unspeakable, is also a way to release things that have been stored in yourself. That, the stress that you form is something that you keep inside for many years. And that's also a type of work we do. And as you are going through this process, you finally seen and understood for who you are and being accepted. And that's the ultimate part of coaching, because the moment you accept that you can be accepted, you accept yourself. And that's the most stable state that we work with clients to really reach, that state of serenity and then emotional stability. And to conclude on like those three really pillars around coaching, around clarity, structure, and serenity. A lot of time we try to fix things mentally, but the key is in our heart. And what we do as a work is really building the path, the connection from mind to heart, because they are connected. And that's where the potential of creativity, intelligence, human connection lies.